Well, Paul Finebaum has chimed in about the Dogs game with Oregon. During a call yesterday on his show, he had this to say about Georgia and Oregon. He said, I think Georgia could be challenged a little bit this week. I think Oregon could at least make Georgia sweat for a while. The Dogs, as you may or may not know, if you've been following us for a little bit, you know that they are 17.5 point favorites. Let me check and see while I talk here if that line has increased or decreased at all. Georgia is 54, I think, and one in games where they are since 2011 in games where they have where they are at least 16 point favorites or more. That game is 17 and a half ish, somewhere in that ballpark. So that it's not moved a lot lately. Uh, Generally speaking, it's if a betting service came in at or a betting house came in at 17, they're kind of still at 17 for the week, and that's not really moved much. 17's a lot to ask to move a game, but the sort of consensus is 17 and a half. I don't know how much I agree with Paul. I wonder what he means by, how much. I think Oregon could at least make Georgia sweat for a while. I don't know how long for a while is. I don't know what a sweat means. A season ago, would you think that the Tennessee Georgia game was making Georgia sweat? I would say a little bit, yeah. I mean, the first quarter, say the first 17 minutes of the game were maybe a little longer than that. Maybe the first 20 minutes of the game, 25 minutes of the game were competitive for sure. And then, Georgia just zoomed right past, excuse me, the Vols. And I mean, of course, can be wrong. We don't know what we don't know heading into this season. Oregon's going to have to be a lot better than they showed on film a year ago, and Georgia's going to have to take what I would call more than a major step back for Oregon to win this game. Paul is certainly not suggesting that Oregon will win the game, but you know, this is going to be a tough game for Oregon to win. And when you watch them play, they're not bad, and they definitely have some players. Sewell at line, their linebackers are pretty good. Their line is not bad, but they're not anything special in any way. Now, a year ago, they were the same team and went on the road and beat Ohio State up in the Horseshoe. So it's not like it's without. It's not like it's out of the realm of possibility that they beat a highly ranked team early in the season on the road. They literally did that a year ago. I think this is different for a couple of reasons. Namely, you have a, a new coaching staff, you have a new quarterback, a new running back, you had a fair amount of turnover on their defensive side of the ball. So, yeah, I mean they have some things to address too. For Georgia, the guys better not think this is some sort of coordination. That's already happened. And if they come into this game with the same attitude as the 19 South Carolina game, you could see the same result. And that was a much worse team than what Georgia's dealing with in this game. But I have to be honest with my audience. I find it very hard to believe that Georgia loses this game. As it relates to what Paul says, I think Georgia could be challenged a little bit this week. I think Oregon could at least make Georgia sweat. I don't know the context of that. I don't know. What my view is that with what you see from Oregon in the recent past, the games they've played against UCLA, Utah, Stanford, and some of the Arizona game, it's just going to be hard for them to take out a team that is as deep and gifted as Georgia is. We hear a lot from people who watch practices how noticeably fast the defense is. That's not good for Oregon. Bo Nix makes you pay with Bo Nix makes you pay with athleticism, and he can really hurt you if you don't watch out. But uh, Bo Nix versus Kirby Smart has not worked out real well over the years. Make sure you're picking up DAWGSTRUCTION today. I'm probably going to be tinkering with the cover a little bit in the near future, so make sure that you are picking this up today. I believe that will be our 6th printing of the book. Forward from Jeff Foxworthy. Let me just read one or two things from Jeff while we're here. Uh, I'm so blessed to have been able to afford outrageously priced tickets. They were outrageously priced. So my brother, two Lifeline Georgia friends, and myself drove to Indianapolis. Let me make a side note. One of these days, we're going to do a story about our journey to Indianapolis, just the Dog Post crew. That was a frightful uh, thing. He said, I did not want to miss this. And I'm so glad I didn't. It was one of the best sports days of my life. We started out nervous on offense and couldn't get anything going, but our defense was on a mission 6 times. Alabama went to our 30-yard line, and they ended up with only one touchdown to show for it. Get Jalen Carter blocked a field goal after a 17-play Alabama drive. Now, I don't write about that particular thing, but Jeff points it out. He's exactly right. That was a huge, huge moment in that game. This time was different. We came out throwing on a free play. Alabama jumped offside. Stetson heaved one right down the sideline. A.D. Mitchell made an amazing catch. The Dogs were back on top. Uh, it's very well done. And I talk about all the games in here. I mean, obviously talk about the Clemson game too, which is sort of an afterthought. A few months later, that was a really big game, and that's what Georgia's got coming up with Oregon. Um, unlike the Clemson game where the Dogs were like a 3 or 4 point um, dog in that game, um, they are not that in this one. They are a significant favorite. They will be punished by national folks and the sort of consensus online if they don't come out and play well. But, you know, I feel like I've got a pretty good beat on this team, generally speaking. I can't remember what I picked in 2020, but I think I've only missed one game lately, which was the SEC championship game, thinking that Alabama would lose that game to Georgia. What happened in Indianapolis is what I thought would happen in Atlanta. It didn't. So if you have a game like the Carolina game in 19, or that would be much similar to if Oregon were to win this game. That would be much more significantly similar than the Alabama game a season ago. I mean, Alabama's beating of Georgia in Atlanta last year was an upset. It wasn't a catastrophe. I mean, that's what that was. The other thing, too, speaking of which, and this is what we talked about a lot a season ago, there was this notion that the loser of the Clemson Georgia game could stick around and be in the play. No, I was like, no, beforehand. The loser of this game is not in good shape. They are not in good shape. It turns out that was true. I do not see Oregon winning this game. This is going to be a bit of a fashion show in that, how does Georgia look? I don't think the folks in Oregon believe the fans that they have a real shot at this game. But Bo Nix has seen this before. He's not had a lot of success against it, but he's seen it before. Dan Lanning has seen SEC offenses his entire tenure at Georgia. That's not going to be anything new for him. I'm concerned for Oregon about the running back. They're replacing a very good running back who's at SC now, a very productive running back. They're replacing their starting quarterback from a season ago who is particularly gifted running around and throwing. With we're assuming Bo Nix. Kirby's acting like he knows who it is. So if you want to get away to where Georgia loses, uh, I now I know this is sports. I just have a hard time getting there. Now, the caveats to all of this is, of course, that, and this is the really biggest caveat is it possible that in a 9-month period that Dan has uh, gotten Oregon to the level that it was not a season ago in year one with so many new moving parts? I've been around long enough to know that the first year, whether you're talking about Mark Richt in '01, Urban in '05, Kirby in '16, um, Nick in 2006, it's tough to do that in year one. Now, Ryan Day did it at Ohio State, and I think Lincoln Riley did it at Oklahoma, but they had regular season losses along the way too. Ryan Day might not have, but it is hard to put that together. Secondly, when you look at what Oregon was working with to begin with, they do not have the same types of player that Georgia has. Um, Georgia has a lot to work with. There are some issues with the Dogs that if Oregon can take advantage of it, this will be a game going into the third quarter. It's going to be tough, I think, for Oregon to survive 60 minutes of Georgia leaning on them the entire time. This explosive offense, which is what it's going to be, and this defense, which, if nothing else, is fast. Oregon used to be extremely fast. They're not fast like they used to be. Georgia used to be really fast. A lot of people are acting like they're still as fast as they were. I mean, yesterday I got Ryan telling me that these guys are as fast as Georgia's team last year. All right, well, we'll see. I mean, but when people are making those claims, and it's not just Ryan, um, that means that you're paying attention to that. First thing I look for all the time, offensive line, that is not a problem in Georgia. So that's that. We'll see. But Oregon's going to have a hard time in this game. Paul says, I think Georgia can be challenged a bit in this game. I think Oregon could at least make Georgia sweat for a while. Maybe.